to us that it didn't work.
Now, what happens if things go the other way, Chris?
Well, if things go the other way, we'll just have to hang on and hang on for the ride. When you're in the stock market, you're in for a penny, in for a pound. Much like Sean said, it goes down, it comes back up again.
And lastly, I got to ask this one question. Talking about New York. Is that a place you're going to go anytime soon?
No, I don't think they need visitors, but, they're going to recover. And, New York has everything. They've got Broadway, they've got national monuments, they've got, just so much. I mean, New York is always going to be New York. And, I'll visit sometime, but I think, stay out of their way for a while.
Yeah, is that common thought? Yeah, I appreciate that. Folks, thank you. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the folks at the restaurant letting us stay up late with them. Aaron, that's the latest from here as we listen to the Heartland. Back to you.
Jeff, thanks. Jeff Flock in Kansas City, Missouri today, in Barbecue Town. By the way, the Mayor Giuliani said today, if people around the country really want to show their support for New York, they ought to come here and spend some money. The city obviously is going to take an economic hit, and so the mayor, in characteristically blunt terms, said, come on here and unload some cash and help people out. Around the country today, the vigils continued. Here's an example. Not even the rain could stop. Minnesotans are pretty hardy, I know that. Could stop thousands from attending a rally dubbed Minnesota Remembers a Memorial from the Heartland. With their umbrellas and their American flags, Minnesotans prayed, listened to music and various speakers, including a native son, former Vice President Walter Mondale, and the current governor, Jesse Ventura. On to matters of diplomacy. The Pakistani government says it will deliver an ultimatum to the Taliban rulers of Afghanistan to hand over the suspected terrorist Osama bin Laden or face massive military action led by the United States. In New York today, the Afghan ambassador to the United States, who represents the anti-Taliban forces in Afghanistan, said the Northern Alliance, the opposition forces in Afghanistan, will make 15,000 troops available for any U.S.-led attack. And Ravan Fahardi joins us now. He said those words today, and he's here tonight to talk for a minute. Good evening, sir.
Thank you very much. First, tell me that I am ambassador to the United Nations.
Yes.
Not to the United States.
I'm sorry. I misspoke. Okay. I apologize. Okay, yes. When you hear what the Pakistanis have to say, you're not a big fan of the Pakistanis.
Yes, I think that this shows that there's a change in the foreign policy of Pakistan, because there was United States pressure. Let us remember that Pakistan created the Taliban in 1995.
So why should you or people in the United States believe the Pakistanis now when they say they will do whatever the United States asks in an effort to get Mr. bin Laden?
Yes, because what happened was so dramatic. This was a very important event of the beginning of century, of our century.
You think it shocked, we'll move off Pakistan in a minute, but do you think it shocked even the Pakistanis that this could have happened and has forced them to reevaluate their foreign policy?
Quite. This is what I. If really there is a change in their policy, and I hope there is, it is really that they have felt that this is necessary.
A couple of other areas to explore. How deep, how broad is the terrorist network in Afghanistan?
Well, the terrorist, it is centered, in the south, because the south is the territory which is Taliban held. Taliban are have occupied militarily this part of Afghanistan, and they protect bin Laden. Now also they came to the north in the past years, but we have been able to resist against them and to have a part of Afghanistan, the northeast of Afghanistan, free, and also there are resistance in many places in the central mountains, and therefore Taliban, the rule, just maybe I think I can say safely that more than 20% of Afghanistan is free of the Taliban rule, while the press is putting it 10% of it. But it's more. Yes.
Very briefly, sir, is it in your mind somewhere that this tragedy might ultimately lead to the end of the Taliban regime?
This is what we hope. In any case, it would be quite inadequate if only bin Laden was surrenders and it will not be finished, because there are thousands of Arab armies. Afghanistan is not an Arab country, but the thousands of the bin Laden army is in Afghanistan, is fighting us.
Dr. Pahady, thanks for coming in tonight. The ambassador to the United Nations. I won't make that
Thank you
mistake
very much.
again. Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Appreciate it. Since we're talking about Mr. bin Laden here, just about everybody from President Bush to the bellman at the hotel I've been staying at seems to believe that he is the mastermind behind this awful tragedy here. Today, the elusive Saudi exile denied it again. His statement read in part, quote, "After the recent attacks which the United States has witnessed, the U.S. government ventured to point fingers at me, accuse me of involvement. The U.S. government has consistently blamed me for being behind every occasion its enemies attack it. On every occasion its enemies attack it. I would like to assure the world that I did not plan the recent attacks, which seem to have been planned by people for personal reasons. As for me, I have been living in the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan and following its leader's rules. The current leader does not allow me to exercise such operations." Bin Laden is certainly a complex figure with many enemies and many allies. As we have said, or as we're about to say actually, coming up in the hour ahead, we'll take a good look at the world's most wanted terrorist. Part of what my friend and colleague Jeff Greenfield will be doing. I'm going to get out of here a little early tonight and try and get some sleep, and you're going to help us out. Have you had a chance to, I want to talk about a couple of other things, but on the bin Laden stuff, what's your impressions here of the work we're going to put forward tonight?
Well, Peter Bergen, who is a CNN producer now, is an analyst on terrorism and counterterrorism, did this interview in 1997. At the time, if 1 in a million Americans had ever heard of him, I would have been surprised. And I think what Peter has brought to this is a unique insight, because he has traced the evolution of bin Laden's thinking over a long period of time, and how he got to the point of where he now thinks it's okay to target American civilians rather than American military personnel abroad. I've seen this interview. It's a fascinating interview, and when it's over, we will talk with Peter and let him shed a little more insight into where he thinks things stand now.
Let me turn your head to something else for a second. I was up flying around looking at the site this morning, didn't see it. What was your impression of the parade of guests on the Sunday talk shows today and where they were? Anything jump out at you?
You know, you put me on the spot, because what really jumped out at me was that I think there is still a sense of the mix of resolution and still astonishment that what happened. You know, I've been thinking of all the things we've been hearing year after year after year about where we are in the world and how we have to make sure that nobody misreads America. And I still think that some of the folks are still in a state, if not of shock, of absolute astonishment at what's happened. And the question I think a lot of people are asking is, clearly the country's united, clearly there's enormous resolve. The question now is, how sure are we that we know what it is we need to do? Yeah. And if we do that, will we be safe again?
Every time you give me that heavy sigh, I know I've put you on the spot.
Well, you ask questions that I think can either be evaded or answered straight. So
thank you, Jeff. Jeff will be back with us in just a few moments. Amid the death and destruction in New York, some new lives are being celebrated today. Since Tuesday's deadly attack at the World Trade Center, dozens of babies have been born in New York City, as they are every day. And to many, that's a big reason for optimism in the Big Apple. Tonight, the story from CNN's Beth Nissen.
The outside walls of New York University Medical Center in Manhattan are papered with the names, descriptions, and photos of the missing. Many shown with their children, carrying them, feeding them, holding them in their first days in this world. Yet at the end of a week when thousands of lives ended, there is this small comfort, knowing that other lives have begun. Meet Nora Rose Draper, born September 15th, one of 56 babies born here since Tuesday morning.
I've just felt so good since she's been here for the first time since that day.
That day, the day the World Trade Center was attacked. The labor nurses here logged an unusually high number of births Tuesday.
22.
22 babies in 24 hours. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Nurses say high stress often triggers labor. It did for Lorraine Tobias. She watched the horror unfold on television all last week until Friday night.
Like it just hit me. But then that night I went into, my water broke and she came.
Came 3 weeks early.
I think she just decided that it was, people needed some good news.
Little Max Edelstein's safe arrival was good news for his parents, too. Yet they both admit they are apprehensive.
It was sort of overwhelming, the idea that there's so much death and destruction going on, and here we were bringing a new life into the world and what that world would be for this child.
Yeah, we even tried to call right away to call our congresspeople to ask them, to push for justice rather than revenge. We want peace. We don't want more killing.
His name is Jaden Francisco Muniz, and I had him today at 8:06 a.m.
Tina Muniz is praying for peace especially hard. Little Jaden's father doesn't yet know his son has been born. Tina's husband is in the U.S. Navy, serving aboard a submarine that is somewhere in the world.
I have no way of getting in contact with him probably for a month and a half.
The past 6 days have been terribly hard for Tina. First the attack, now the talk of war.
Him being in the world now with this going on, it's you don't even want to think about it. Hopefully bringing this life into the world is making those around me more joyful.
All of these new parents and the labor-weary nurses are at heart optimistic.
It's hope. The children are our hope. And that's a new generation that we're bringing into the world. And they're our hope. Alex's mother thought we should call her Hope because when she was born.
They didn't name her Hope, although for her parents she does represent it.
She's being born into the world, but she's also coming into the world. She'll make it better.
I think it's still a good world. I just think we have to believe that.
Maybe we do. Beth Nissen, CNN, New York.
Kicking back.
Sleep well. For many across the country today, this weekend provided a chance to gather in churches and in synagogues. There were vigils all over the country. People came to parks. We saw people outside a fire station here the other night with candles, holding a vigil of their own. At Riverside Cathedral in New York today, actor Mandy Patinkin lent his voice to a special mass.